Blood on His Hands. The author is Kincaid. The True Story of Edward Snowden. The author does have a YouTube channel, and I believe it's called USA Survival. If that's not correct, I'll put it in the comments below. I took a few notes as I went through the book. It opened my eyes up to many things, not just about Edward Snowden, but about Congress and security matters within our own American government. Funding, Soros funds through these tiny little groups that people don't know too much about. And the story broke. All of a sudden I remember just hearing on the news that this Edward Snowden, who was some kind of a government contractor, was running with data, and it sounded like he was running from the U.S. government. He was a U.S. citizen, and he was trying to find a safe spot. The Guardian and the Washington Post brought Snowden to global attention, publishing the initial stories. This is monopoly-owned media. So their agenda was to break this story and to make people think a certain way. Zhang Zhaozhong, this is a Chinese name I can't pronounce very well. He's a professor at the People's Liberation Army National Defense University, Chinese of course, was quoted as saying, "The damage to the United States by Edward Snowden's flight equals the loss of 10 heavy armored divisions." Now this is something we would have never heard in this country if you don't read a book like this. We're not hearing what other countries say about this whole Edward Snowden scenario. But apparently other countries are viewing it as the United States has taken a huge, huge hit. And the author has brought out that probably soldiers overseas have been killed needlessly because of these leaks. Also, America is having a security meltdown. And the author brings out that Obama, with his shady associations in the past, really should have never gotten a security clearance in his own government that he runs. So, and guess what? This was an eye-opener. Candidates for federal office don't undergo checks at all. Only federal employees undergo background checks. Unbelievable. Just unbelievable. And it explains why there's so much confusion and trouble, and people who are not on the side of the United States. The author brings out, and I think it's a chapter titled, "Journalism Has Changed into a Form of Espionage." Yes, it has. I read quite a bit of espionage, and there are actually 4 levels now to espionage. It is spying, propaganda, surveillance, and commando/assassin. And you'll see a lot of TV shows and books are written on it. But and we know that. That's why the media has been bought up, and we're only hearing one side, and the whole other side's matters is not being reported. And that is espionage. It's a way to control the people to think a certain way. Now, he does have quite a bit about funding in here and who are Snowden's backers. Freedom of the Press Foundation promotes Snowden as a whistleblower rather than a traitor, as do journalism and transparency organizations such as Wikileaks, the Center for Public Integrity, and the National Security Archive, the latter two funded by Soros. And I think I saw somewhere else that the Freedom of the Press Foundation, somewhere way behind it all, I think Soros is behind that too. Also, this Freedom of the Press Foundation funnels funds to WikiLeaks, the infiltration of Congress. And the author asked the questions, how did a libertarian ideologue like Snowden get security clearances in the first place? Very good point. And also the oath of office for Congress members is to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. When Reagan was in office, apparently there were about 24 Marxists in Congress. Today, the number is put at about 60. And we can see it all the time. These people do not represent the people any longer. They're in it for their own interests. So I would highly recommend this book. There's a whole lot more in the book, and it does get quite detailed as far as the American government goes. There's more on it about Bernie Sanders, Rand Paul, and it was an eye-opener to me. And now I'm glad I have the proper perspective on this Edward Snowden business.